predator with a deep connection to the spirit realm. So, without further ado, let's kick off this deep dive to the Spiritborn.
Only a few among my people can become Spiritborn. As children, the most promising face judgment in the mist. Our trial begins and ends with pain. Those who are not called are culled. For the weak, all paths end here. For the worthy, that path leads to power beyond compare, and a sacred charge to wield it well. Though the mortal world was designed to break us, our hearts, our minds, our bodies, there is another which makes us bold. We are without fear.
300 Flair, oder?
We are without equal. We walk with the ancient guardians of the unformed lands. Their power is our power. Their cause is our cause. We forge unbreakable bonds in the spirit realm to defeat the horrors of this one. For we are Spiritborn.
Schaut ja gar nicht so behindert aus, oder? Wo ist die Webcam?
Wow, and there it is.
Es schaut ja gar nicht so deppert aus, die ganze Sache.
Predator from the jungle. Awesome to finally show it off, and what an incredible trailer. To talk more about the Spiritborn, we would like to introduce Eleni Rivera Colon, narrative designer on Diablo 4. Welcome, Eleni.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here to talk about the Spiritborn class. I'm also a little nervous.
It's okay. We're live. We're doing this live here for everyone. But obviously, Eleni, we just saw here in the trailer with the Spiritborn, and we saw a little bit about that spirit realm. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that spirit realm is?
Yeah, so I mean, to put it plainly, the spirit realm is a place where spirits go. It's this deeply spiritual place that's a byproduct of Sanctuary's creation. So, as you may know, the angels have the high heavens, the demons have the burning hells, and we have the spirit realm.
You know, we're hearing a little bit about the high heavens and the burning hells here, and players have actually seen both of those places specifically. Kind of like, what does the spirit realm actually look like for players?
Yeah, we really love this concept that the spirit realm is shaped by humanity. So, if that's the case, the foundation of that would actually be being in the middle of the jungle and you're surrounded by these tall ancient structures. And when you cross over the veil into the spirit realm, you're going to see a ghostly reflection of just that. The big key difference is that you're going to see all the spirits and the creatures that exist there.
Yeah, there are these massive creatures that protect the realm from spirits or they protect the realm and the spirits from corruption. So the Spiritborn class have this harmonious bond and connection with these massive creatures that are called the Spirit Guardians, and they work together toward the land.
It's awesome to hear about the spirit guardians, and people saw them in the trailer a little bit there. Can you actually tell us a little bit more about like who these spirit guardians are?
Yeah, so if the spirit realm is shaped by humanity, we love the idea that the guardians are formed from human belief. And so if you're trying to survive in the jungle and
Das schaut ja ziemlich
protection
geil
is
aus.
a thing that you are pouring all of your belief, your hope into, that belief it's magical. It's got power in itself, and it can actually create a creature that represents that. It could represent protection.
Yeah, so as Brent is saying, the spirit guardians are this complex creation of Sanctuary's creation along with this powerful human belief. And spiritborns devote their entire lives strengthening this incredible bond because these spirit guardians are powerful. It's this idea, right, of what these gods look like, and so they can help protect both the realm and Nahantu.
We saw in the trailer and some of the gameplay, people were, if you're playing the Spiritborn, you can actually summon one of these in there. Is that something you can do on demand? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, very early on in concepting, we saw this one piece of a simple warrior raising their staff.
What the fuck?
Razoka, and this guardian manifests in the form of a jaguar. So the belief of courage and ferocity, striking on the hunt, attacking a kill with no fear or reservations. The second one is Balazan, appearing as this massive centipede. The belief is balance and persistence. So, although some people might see it as fear, it represents harmony and balance, so the give and take of life. And then we have Quatli. The manifestation of this is a majestic eagle, right? So to represent awareness and finesse, soaring above it all, having keen awareness of its surroundings, and acting with intent. And then the last one is Woomba. This guardian manifests in a powerful gorilla, so this beacon of protection and strength, and a movable force that holds its ground and sustains under pressure.
So it's great because we've heard a little bit about the spirit realm. We've heard about these 4 awesome guardians. Can you tell us a little bit more about kind of the star of the show now, the Spiritborn itself?
Yeah, so I think before we really dive in, I want to talk about Akarat, who's really important with the Spiritborn and the Spirit Realm. For those who don't know, Akarat is this prophet that believed in the human experience and that it gives us this unique power. We have this light within us. And that light gives us the ability to question and to doubt and to challenge. When Akarat made his way to his mother's homeland in Nahantu, he felt this strong otherworldly presence. And he would spend a lot of time with one of his apostles, Isavete, trying to uncover what this mystery was. What was this feeling when he got to the realm, or when he got to the land of Nahantu, until he eventually discovers this veil, and that's the veil between the spirit realm and sanctuary. And he realized that this was this untouched place from neither angels or demons. They had never really had any sort of influence there. So Akarat and his dedicant Isavete would spend a lot of time studying, and he would be the first person and living being to cross this veil. And then after Akarat died, his apostle would then take on the mantle and then found the Spiritborn traditions that we know today.
Hearing about the Spiritborn, and of course, I'm sure this is a burning question from the community, but the Sanctuary has a long and storied history. Kind of where have the Spiritborn been throughout all of this?
Yeah, so for anybody who knows the lore of Diablo, this region is no stranger to Mephisto, right? So if you go back to Diablo 2 and you look at the story there, his original soul stone was imprisoned in this place. And its presence corrupted the Zacharan faith, it corrupted the region, and the Spiritborn remember this. And so over the course of what's been happening in D4, they've decided to stay at arm's length out of fear that history might repeat itself.
Yeah, so like I said before, this is an untouched realm. It's pure. This is something so sacred. And with Nerel coming back with the Soul Stone, this is a huge problem for the people of Nahantu, but specifically the Spiritborn that are trying to protect this land.
Yeah, and at this point, with him back, they have no choice but to rejoin the fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible to hear more about the Spiritborn and where they originated from. And of course, thank you, Eleni, for taking us into the spirit realm in itself. We've talked about the new class and how that was created and what they've been up to. Next, we're actually going to take a look at how the art and concepts were designed. We are now joined by my blood brother, art director Nick Celano, who is here to show us how the Spiritborn visually came to be. Nick, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Adam. I'm really excited to talk about the Spiritborn finally.
I know, it's been a long time coming. been a long time coming. Nick, will you tell us a little bit more about like how this class came to be, especially from the art side?
Yeah, first of all, like that trailer, like what an origin story for a Diablo class. Like you got to go into the jungle, you answer the call, or you're cold. Like it's pretty.
Ja, das ist einfach die Dschungelklasse, was du da einführen,
on the
ne?
art side, like we love that stuff. So I think when you go back to like what Eleni and Brent were talking about, we really want to capture everything they just mentioned from a visual standpoint. So for us, it's about trying to infuse the Hantu, the spirit realm, and a martial arts feel into the class. Brent mentioned that like kind of lightning rod moment. That's something that the art team really focuses on. When those moments happen, we
Ja, ja.
lock into that and start to do a lot
Ich
of
bin da
animation.
nicht.
So like, concept will start casting a really wide net. But when that happens, we really start to bring it in and we start to really do a lot of concepts around that so that we can kind of get that tagline that the team needs, which is like creating the living, breathing
Lass mal sie
embodiment
überraufschen.
of the spirit realm.
Ich weiß nicht.
Yeah, and it's really, after we get past
This
that
was-
initial inspirational
Ich hätte
piece, we
lieber
want to like
einen
drill
Kreuzritter
down
gehabt.
into finding that iconic piece. And so when you look at some of the imagery that we're showing today, you can see how we're taking that embodiment and we're bringing it into all of the iconic look of that character. We wanted a class that wouldn't necessarily wear armor to protect themselves, but rather become the guardian that they're all about. And so if you're into the Jaguar, you're wearing the Jaguar helm. Your markings are the spots and patterns that you would see on that creature. The way that you move through the jungle would also be a big part of that package. And then once we have that iconic look, we can actually roll it out to the rest of the team.
Yeah, that's really the DNA of like.
Ich bin
where
da
we
nicht
start
so
going. Like, those
begeistert
iconic
von dem
images
Ganzen.
drive
wenn
the
ich ehrlich
entire
bin.
art department at that point. And that's our North Star. So we can move into things like how do we get the spirit guardians on screen? How do they fit into the combat? If you think about the eagle, does the full eagle show up? Is it just feathers? How do we represent that? And how do we like ramp that up through our visuals so you can start with something, a little more on a certain scale and get to this like epic moment. We also want to explore, visually, like visual iconography at the same time. So while we're doing all that iteration and stuff with the iconic looks and the skills, we're also starting to get into like, what is the identity of the class? Where do we want to put this iconography? And like, what is that visual footprint that they're going to take up on the screen?
It's seeing all this like badass concept art. Like shout out to our concept artist on
concept
the art team.
amazing.
Yeah.
So good. Like how do you guys
Ja,
actually
gut.
take this from like concept
Ja.
to actually
weiß nicht.
building out the character from some of this concept art?
Yeah, once we have alignment between the
Ich kann das
design
nicht so.
direction that we want to go, we understand kind of roughly mechanically and from a design perspective.
Ich bin
what we
skeptisch
want it
der
to be
ganzen Sache
and where we
gegenüber.
want it from an
Absolut
architecture
skeptisch.
standpoint. We sit down with each
Weil
department
wir haben
and
jetzt gehabt,
roll out the idea. We
den
pitch it,
Hexendoktor,
and we're like, hey,
wir haben
this
einen
is what
Cruise
we're
Raider
thinking,
gehabt,
and really
die
get
haben
them
jetzt
to
da
understand where
eingeführt
we're trying to head,
in
so that when they go
Totenbeschwörer.
out in their craft
Es
and they
fördert,
do the
es
best
fördert
work
auf
that
jeden
they
Fall der
possibly
Crusader.
can make, the sum of all the parts
Das ist
end
das,
up
was
with a
führt.
killer class
Absolut.
like the Spiritborn.
Collaboration's a big thing.
Und der Dschungelhaberer da, da taugt mir überhaupt nicht. Passt mir nicht.
They take these like
Das ist sicher, die urfade Klasse ist so eine Mischung zwischen Hexendoktor und Magier und ein bisschen was vom Schamanen. Bin ich nicht überzeugt davon, wenn ich ehrlich bin.
one of the interesting things about this class is we started to recognize that like the
Ja.
helms, the gauntlets, the belts were really great places to like hone in on those like visual elements. And another nice thing is like the armor really started to kind of come into the space of being very functional and practical.
Okay,
You'll
sehe ich schon
notice that,
etliche
like,
wieder
the legs are
aufregen,
kinda open, the upper body's kind of open.
wegen
It's because
Sexismus
we're
und so ein
making it a
Scheiß.
really fast, agile
Das ist
class.
das Erste.
We want everything to kind of line up. And like Brent said, like they don't need to be fully armored.
Das Einzige, was wirklich einmal braucht hat, war mal ein anständiger Content für Diablo 4.
Is their defense, and it shows when you play it.
Nicht immer von Saison zu Saison
Speaking of
dasselbe.
fast and
Und
agile, Tech Art really is
Ding,
the team that will
zum,
kind of
zum
find what our
Story, was eine Stunde dauert und du bist mit der Saison
so they do a
fertig.
lot of range of motion tests. They're trying to
Das
figure
war das,
out
aus
how
dem,
to
was
get
wirklich einmal
really
arbeiten
dynamic
sollten.
poses, really dynamic lines of actions, and we want to push that because this class really
Absolut.
needs us to kind of be in the spot where we're like kind of pushing the boundaries of what we've done.
Taugt mir überhaupt nicht.
Yeah, it's awesome because like you guys mentioned like super like hypermobile class and you know so the apex predator in the jungle itself. Like, how do you put that towards something like animation now, like getting the character to move and kind of telegraphing that through that animation?
Yeah, you know, it's like
Das ist eine bescheuerte
one of the
Frage,
key
wie sie das
elements here is
animiert haben.
making sure
Ja,
that
wie
we
werden sie
have
es
a
animiert haben, so wie
combat
den ganzen
archetype
anderen
routine.
Scheiß.
So if you take a look at the original 5 classes, each one of them has a very distinct style. And so when we were thinking about the Spiritborn, we naturally went to martial arts. And what does that mean for the movement through the jungle? And actually, I feel like we found a really good pairing there.
Yeah, like the animation team, like they went crazy with reference. They were looking at Muay Thai, Taekwondo, kickboxing, boxing, karate. There was a stunt woman that did these amazing like reference materials that we saw. And the really interesting thing here is we're not
Okay,
trying
das
to
schaut geil aus.
just mimic a martial arts style.
Das schaut
We're
gut
really
aus.
trying to find the best
Wenn sie es
pieces
wirklich so einen
and
MMA-Style
seeing
gemacht haben,
where
nach
they
Martial
fit,
Arts,
how can we
und
manipulate
das wirklich
them,
eingearbeitet
how can we
haben,
rearrange
die
them in ways that make
Bewegungen,
a really
das ist cool.
unique and interesting fighting style for the Spiritborn.
Das ist auf jeden Fall geil.
Once the animation team has that, and like they, you know, again, they have a wide range of options that they're looking at, they start to figure out like where it fits for each guardian. So, for example, the gorilla is blunt force, lots of strength. The jaguar is cleaves, multi-hit combos, aggression. The centipede is like open palm strikes for applying poisons and unearthing things from the ground. And the eagle is about really precision movements and repositioning on the battlefield. So like they nailed it when it came to that.
You know, honestly, it's like the combination of all the things that we put together. We'd been talking about. It's like we've almost invented our own martial arts style for Diablo, and we'd been talking about this the last few days with all the people that we met with, and they actually said, "Hey, does it have a name?" And currently it doesn't. So like for those of you at home, if you got ideas,
check out the you know the Spiritborn gameplay and like you know if you have names, suggestions, like
yeah, we got to
all
name
ears.
this thing.
Exactly, we're all ears.
That's right.
Well, we've heard about you know concept and we've heard about character art, tech art,
Ja,
and
sagt's
now
uns
we just
einmal.
heard about animation. I always
Sag's
call
einmal
it kind of
in-game.
like the frosting on the cake and that
Kommt's?
kind of VFX and that makes everything kind of pop a little bit. How does VFX actually
Herzang.
something like the Spiritborn?
Yeah, you know, at this point,
Sehen
VFX is
bitchen.
really they're an amazing bridge between like gameplay and the visuals of the game. And they had a really important lift, which was to try to figure out like how do we represent like the spirit realm and these like elemental spirit guardians like together. What is that fantasy and what is that story we're telling? So Eleni mentioned earlier that like there's this veil, right? So we needed to understand like how do you get the jaguar, for example, to like come through this veil, show up in Sanctuary, and exit through the veil. So visually, we're looking at like what is the spirit realm? So we have this like kind of bluish white mist. They come in through the veil. That bluish white mist kind of like trails off of them. They become physical. The jaguar's now engulfed in flames. This
Schaut geil aus. Muss man
losen,
losen, schaut extrem geil aus, oder?
Around it, and then it exits through that veil and kind of like transitions into that blue-white mist again. That's a fantastic story for us to tell.
Schaut auf jeden
And it
Fall
also
sau cool
allows us
aus.
to start to understand like what are our pieces with the VFX and how to then ramp up our basic skills to be maybe lean a little more into the elemental side, our core skills. We start to like kind of blend the two together. You know, maybe it's like the gorilla fish show up and they look like that spirit element, and then they, you know, then you go into the ultimates where it's just like our spectacles like ramped up. And to be honest with you, like when it all comes together, like there is a feel to this class that is really awesome. kind of like inherently martial arts has a rhythm and a cadence to it. This class has that. It's fantastic to look at. You feel it when you play it, and the art team, they killed it. They did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I gotta give another shout out to the Diablo 4 art team. Absolutely killed it. The Spiritborn is fantastic. It's great to look at, great to play. But Nick, thank you so much for walking us through the
Da kommt,
creation
jetzt
of
sagt
the
es einmal.
Spiritborn. Reminder
Anständig.
for everyone watching from home, we'll actually be holding a Q&A at the end of today's Spiritborn Showcase, similar to how we always do with all our live streams. You can drop your questions in the Diablo Twitch chat, and we will try to get to as many of them as possible towards the end of the show.
Not komm. Oh, Digga, das schaut schon geil aus. Ja, jawohl, Gameplay Deep Dive.
We've heard the lore, we've seen the art. Now let's get ready to talk about some gameplay. I know a lot of people are excited to hear more about how this class actually plays. So next up, we have Bjorn Mikkelsen, class designer, on stage to talk about the gameplay for the
Sheldon
Spiritborn.
Cooper.
Bjorn is actually here to tell us more about the Spiritborn's overall class kit and design. And later on, we'll get into some itemization, which I know every fan wants to hear about because itemization is, of course, incredible, especially within Diablo. Bjorn, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
I know Bjorn will be a fan favorite here because
Yeah,
he's going to
absolutely.
walk us through all the skills and the gameplay for how it works. So Bjorn, can you kick us off and tell us a little bit about this new class?
Absolutely. So yeah, just like high level, like what is this class? Excellent question. So basically what Spiritborn are, they are these jungle warriors who are empowered by the spirits. They're sort of this dexterity focused class and sort of masters of martial arts and hand-to-hand combat. And so what they do is ultimately all of their actions and their movements, they sort of resonate with the spirits to form sort of these unique combat styles as they're fighting. They sort of mix and match them to hit whatever sort of build they need.
Awesome. So if you are a current Diablo player right now, or let's say I'm a current Diablo player, which I am, I play a lot of Rogue or Barb, where would you kind of place the speed and aggression of the Spiritborn?
Yeah,
Das
would
ist
say
ganz
Spiritborn is
einfach.
definitely probably our fastest, most aggressive class. It's got multiple gap closers built into its basic attacks. It's got several movement skills, very high damage on those.
Ah, das ist
as
eine
well as
Mischung für
several
mich
ways
zwischen
to
einem
upgrade
Druiden
the
und einem
same skill
Magier.
as well. It's all about kind of like getting on a target, sticking to it, and
Ah, und ein Roach.
Awesome. I know we had footage earlier of within the trailer of players actually being able, and we talked about this earlier.
Es ist einfach eine
players
Mischung
being able to
aus
actually
Druide,
summon in
Magier
Spirit Guardian. So
und Jäger.
can you just summon a giant jaguar into
Hundertprozentig.
battle or anything like that?
Allein, wenn man das
Yeah,
Movement
absolutely.
anschaut, was sie
Yeah,
vorher
in
gesagt haben.
addition to being these master
Absolut,
martial artists, because they're empowered by
absolut.
these spirits, you'll see parts of the spirits, but then ultimately with the ultimates, the spirits themselves will show up on the battlefield and they'll empower you and deal damage.
And it's really the core of the fantasy, right? Like if we talk about power fantasies, summoning the god into battle is the power fantasy for this class. And one of the things that I really liked about that is
Yeah.
that we were getting a bunch of feedback early on about making ultimates more meaningful, and we were actually able to do that with this class ground up.
Awesome. I know people are probably dying to know, okay, let's jump into some Spirit Guardians. So I think this is a great opportunity. Maybe we should start off with the Jaguar being the first one. Bjorn, do you want to take us through the Jaguar itself?
Sure. Yeah, starting off, Jaguar is a great one. Jaguar is, as we've kind of touched on before, it is sort of this manifestation of just like the hunter. It's exhilaration, it's violence, it's aggression. It's attacking repeatedly, kind of just constant pressure as it's going. It's got these ramping mechanics to it. It's got lots of kill streaks. Mechanically speaking, the way we've kind of translated this, its primary focus is attack speed, and it chases that through a new keyword and mechanic that we call ferocity. This is a stacking buff that it can generate, usually via Jaguar skills, that will increase the attack speed of all of its skills, but it will also enhance other Jaguar skills so you can use them more often, reduce their cooldowns, that sort of thing. Moving on to an example, I guess, of a Jaguar skill. First off, here's one we have Ravager. This is a new type of skill we're adding to the game called Incarnate skills. They all have a passive and active effect. This one allows you to maintain your ferocity at just like a minimum level, so you're all just like a little bit fast. But then when you activate it, you kind of go full Jaguar mode. It gives you additional attacks, kind of like whenever you hit something, it does an extra strike. So it can even turn like skills that are like deal a little bit less damage, they can now deal extra damage just whenever you hit something. Moving on to another skill, we have Rushing Claw. This one is the Jaguar's kind of primary mobility skill. It will